Today, President Obama announced a major change in U.S. policies toward Cuba after also announcing that Alan Gross, a U.S. contractor, had been released from Cuban jail. And the major changes involve the reestablishment of diplomatic relations in the short run with Cuba, also a series of measures to increase engagement between the United States and Cuba, and allowing more people to travel and to send money to Cuba in order to promote the private sector there. It's a major change after more than 50 years of isolation of Cuba and the embargo in particular, which still remains, but that now is going to be reevaluated from all kinds of perspectives, from political perspectives, economic perspectives, and also from the human side, involving more contact between people to people in Cuba and the United States. Tangible changes in the near future would include probably an increase in the number of people who travel to Cuba, and also some minor but important changes, such as being able to use your credit card and debit card while in Cuba, which is now, until now, was not allowed. So I would imagine that next year we will see an increase in the number of U.S. citizens, not just Cuban-American citizens, who can travel to Cuba legally and also send money there and perhaps even to invest in small businesses in Cuba. The embargo doesn't allow Cuba to purchase anything from the United States on a credit basis, for instance, or to negotiate credit arrangements from international multilateral organizations like the World Bank. The embargo is still in place, and unless Congress decides to lift it, will still be in place in the near future. But these other changes will make it easier for Cuba to trade with the United States on a small scale, and also with U.S. subsidiaries in other countries which are not allowed to do so right now. Historically, relations between Cuba and the U.S. have been very tense, especially since the triumph of the revolution in 1959, and particularly since the embargo in 1961 was put in place by President Kennedy. And although there have been some moments, particularly during the Carter administration, in which there was a modest rapprochement and reestablishment of U.S. interest section in Havana and a Cuban interest section in Washington. But unfortunately, things really haven't changed much since the end of the Cold War. So I think in this context, perhaps Cuba will come back to have normal relations with the United States and with other neighbors in the hemisphere. FIU has been conducting a poll of the Cuban-American community for more than 20 years now, and we've been seeing changes in attitudes toward U.S. policy toward Cuba. In the last poll, which was conducted in June, there was a split on the issue of the embargo. About half supported the embargo, the other half did not. On the issue of reestablishing diplomatic relations, there's a surprising consensus, and most Cuban-Americans now support that. They do not support, however, removing Cuba from the list of states supporting terrorism. So I think that some sectors of the Cuban community, Cuban-American community in Miami and in the U.S. in general, will support these changes, but others will be extremely critical of it. And I think it just goes to show that the Cuban-American community is very diverse and not monolithic. Well, the Cuban government has announced for a long time that it wishes to lift the embargo and to normalize relations with the United States, and has developed an international campaign to promote their interests. On the U.S. side, I think the major gain is to promote better relations with Latin America, of which Cuba is an important part. And in fact, President Obama today announced that he will attend the next Latin American summit in Panama, along with Raul Castro.